Got it. And how much debt do you put on the business?
Zero.
So this is interesting because the private equity playbook that I'm most familiar with is kind of buy 60%, get the entrepreneur to roll 40%, put a couple turns of EBITDA and debt on the business, lever it up, maximize ROI. What's the thinking behind not following the traditional playbook?
So in order for that playbook to work, and it works, by the way, it's a very defensible business model. But in order for it to work, there's three ingredients that are required. Number one, you require an exit, whereas we don't. We keep all of the businesses, and our time horizon is infinity, right? So a lot of the returns from private equity firms come from, number one, the exit, right? The second thing that it requires is a business that either grows earnings or grows top line, ideally both. And that's not necessarily the case for us, meaning that like it's okay for a business to be what it is. If it's acquired 100% of the customers it could possibly acquire, and it's making as much money as it could, we'll keep it. It's great. It requires 0% of our time, so it's just doing what it's supposed to do. And the third ingredient is it's remarkably hard to do this on small businesses. You know, like if you're going to do all that effort and come up with that financial, package and go see the banks and put security and pay interest and all those things, you want to do it on like 30, 40, 100, 500, $1 billion, right? But what we buy is 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So to do it that many times would take up way too much time and erode our returns down to almost zero, right? That's not our game. That's not what we do. We want a return on equity. We're buying those businesses with equity. We don't want to worry about making interest payments. We don't want to worry about covenants. We don't want to worry about the business not having a good quarter. The businesses that we're buying, we're buying them with a 10, 20, 40, 100-year horizon. We don't care about monthly and quarterly things. And when you start putting debt on individual businesses, inherently, you need to start caring. There's no other way.
It's a fundamentally different model, which is I'm so glad that we had this conversation because I have fallen into the trap. I've heard it so many times that I've fallen into the trap that the kind of private equity playbook is so similar. But what I'm hearing this is a different business and a different business model, especially with the whole period of infinity. But you do mention earlier operational improvements. So you mentioned the company in France, so the 6 a.m. phone call. It's not going as well as you'd hoped, and you guys are all digging in to figure out why. So what are the typical, when you get underneath the covers of these businesses, you bought them, the honeymoon is over, and you're seeing the reality of what you bought. What are the typical operational improvements that are the lowest hanging fruit for you guys?